Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. The other day I made a video that was a little negative. I was talking about a movie that came out that I wasn't a really big fan of, and I really hate having negative videos on my channel. I really try to stick to the positive sides of things. So every time I make a negative video, I have to make an obligatory, okay, I said something mean, now I gotta say something nice video. So that's what this video is going to be. A lot of people in recent years have been hating on Disney a lot, and a lot of people have been saying that Disney is really going far down. You know, they're failing. They're starting to like topple. The Disney empire is crashing, and a lot of people have talked about Disney movies, either ones that came out or have been announced to come out, and saying that they're not going to be great. And I personally very strongly disagree with that. So I've got a list of about 20 movies that have came out in the last 5 years, from basically just mostly Disney animation and then their live action remake adaptations, whatever. So we're gonna go ahead and dive right into this list, and I'm gonna go through each one of these movies that I've picked and say one good thing about it. And I will say this, I am missing some movies. Disney has released about like 40 or 50 movies in the last 5 years, so I just hand selected about 20 of these. If there's a movie that you're like, oh my god, why did he not include this one? Either one, I haven't seen it, because there are a handful on here that I haven't seen, like the live action Pinocchio movie, the live action Dumbo movie, were both movies that came out in that time range that I haven't seen. And then there's a couple of other ones where it's like I have seen them, but I don't think that they're ones that are like obviously good or something like that. So that being said, we're gonna dive right into this list. Alrighty, so starting off with 2019, the whole reason I wanted to go back 5 years is because I think 2019 was a huge year for Disney, and they had a lot of really good hits. But one of the first ones that I want to talk about is the live action Aladdin movie. This movie was absolutely fantastic. I think that this is exactly what the live action reimagining should be. They do such a great job of bringing Princess Jasmine to life and making her more of a powerful figure. The whole storyline with her wanting to become the Sultan as opposed to just wanting to become the queen or whatever is really, really cool. I think that the casting decisions that they had in this movie were really, really well done. I think that the guy who played Aladdin might quite literally be perfect casting. And then I have a little pleasant surprise thing, a little PS, if you will. I think that Will Smith as the genie was fantastic. I wasn't expecting him to be good. I wasn't really expecting to like him, but I think that he was able to play that character really well. And sticking with live actions, we also have two that were kind of live actions that also were like mostly CGI. We have Lady and the Tramp movie, which I will say for this movie, I think that it has the benefit of, if you really enjoy the first Lady and the Tramp movie, this is the best one-to-one adaptation. The live action is basically exactly what the animated movie is. It's still adorable. It's still a really cute little love story between these two dogs, and overall it's a fun story to watch. If you like the original Lady and the Tramp, you'll like this one. And then the other one that I want to talk about is the Lion King live action, which once again, I don't understand why they feel the need to make these live actions if it's basically just still an animated movie. It's just better animation. But that being said, the visuals in this movie are absolutely beautiful. There are a lot of sequences with the lions where it's like, oh my god, these look like they could actually be sequences happening in real life on an actual safari. Really great cinematography. And I will say, there is one sequence in the live action The Lion King movie that I will always preach and I will always love, is the fact that instead of doing the weird talkie-talkie dance or whatever they do when they need to distract Scar, Timon and Pumbaa start singing Be Our Guest from Beauty and the Beast. And it is one of the most meta moments I think Disney has ever done, and I absolutely love it to death. It is such a great subversion of expectations, and it was a very, very entertaining scene to watch. I really loved it. Alright, and now there's just one more live action adaptation from 2019 that I wanted to talk about. Maleficent 2, I believe it's called like Maleficent, the Mistress of Evil or something like that. The Maleficent movie, the original one, was really, really good. And I will admit this sequel kind of dropped off in quality a little bit. They definitely kind of like strayed away from what made this movie really good. And the thing that did make this movie was really, really good was Angelina Jolie being casted as Maleficent. I think that her as that role was really, really good, and I think it's one of the more underrated casting choices that has happened in the last 10 years. I feel like it is damn near perfect casting. And then on top of it, I think that this movie does a really good job of trying to dive into and flesh out some of the mythology with what exactly Maleficent is and other creatures that are similar to her. And overall, I just think that it's a really interesting take on this character, and the fact that they're giving us more background on somebody who for the better half of their existence has been just like an evil person, and now we're kind of understanding where they come from, why they're evil. I think that the Maleficent movies were good. But now for the last movie that takes place in 2019, we have one of the best animated movies of all time, and I will die on this hill, Frozen 2. I think that this movie is absolutely incredible. I think it deserves to be up there with movies like How to Train Your Dragon 2 and Toy Story 2, where it's like considered one of the best animated sequels of all time. It's fantastic. It does everything you would want a sequel to do. It fleshes out the characters more. It dives more deep into the lore. It goes bigger. It has more action sequences that are so remarkable. It does such a good job of showcasing the sisterly love that Anna and Elsa have, which I still to this day think is incredible. The fact that they were like, okay, usually we'll have the princess getting with the prince, and that's going to be true love, and it's going to be great. But here they show that siblings can share true love, and that sisters who are willing to do anything for each other is way more powerful than any love story can be. And on top of this, it also gave us beautiful songs like Into the Unknown, which is absolutely fantastic, and Lost in the Woods by Jonathan Groff, which is such an incredible song. I love Jonathan Groff so much. You get somebody who is as talented as him to be a voice actor in your movie, you gotta make him sing. And that song is so fun, and that entire sequence with it where it kind of looks like an old 80s music video is so iconic and such a unique choice, and I really, really liked it. I think that Frozen 2 is a very, very good movie. Alrighty, now for 2020, this was a really weird year. This was the year that COVID kind of went down and there wasn't really a whole lot of movies released. So I literally only have one movie from this year to talk about, and it is the live-action Mulan movie, which I will admit, I was very cautiously excited for it when it was coming out. I heard that they weren't going to include Mushu, they weren't going to include any of the songs and anything like that. And at the end of the day, I think that actually was a brilliant choice. This movie was very serious. It was a little bit darker than you would expect most Disney movies to be. It felt like a 100% accurate war film, and it had some great fighting choreography, and overall I just love the fact that they decided to go full in on the fact that she is a war hero. She's not a princess. They're not going to be singing songs because this is a time of war. Things need to be very serious, and I overall just love the tone and elements of this movie. And now for 2021, we got a couple of movies. For one of the most underrated animated movies, I think, of all time, Raya and the Last Dragon. I don't even know a lot of people who have seen this movie, but it is fantastic. I love the character development of it. I love all of the action sequences and set pieces look fantastic. I think that Raya's dragon is absolutely adorable. And I think that Awkwafina, a lot of people often give her a really hard time with her voice acting and gives her a really hard time with all of her acting performances. Awkwafina's voice acting in this is absolutely fantastic. And overall, I think that this movie just has such an interesting story. It has so much rich cultural elements, and overall the score and the music and sound effects and everything for it is really, really good. Raya and the Last Dragon, very underrated movie. Speaking of underrated, we also have another live action adaptation that I feel like a lot of people don't give a lot of credit where credit's due. The Cruella movie. For one, I want to go ahead and say casting Emma Stone in your movie will always be a great idea, because if nothing else, a movie that has Emma Stone in it, it will at least be very entertaining to watch. And overall, I think that that's what this Cruella movie is. It is so much fun to watch. I think that the villain is absolutely incredible, actually. And I like the fact that they decided to have this story revolve around the fashion world and how it feels to be somebody who wants to be an aspiring fashionista. And you have some of these older people who are kind of looking down on you, making fun of you, and trying to overcome the fact that you really just want to be somebody who looks good, has the best style around, and is just changing the game with her fashion icons. And I think that was really fun. Like I said, Emma Stone is fantastic in this. Cruella, very underrated live action adaptation. And then the last movie that I have to include from 2021 is an Oscar-winning movie, which just kind of speaks for itself. Encanto, incredible soundtrack, incredible family dynamic. The entire family madrigal is so interesting. I like the fact that there are so many family members who are sticking their necks out for each other. The fact that we have characters like Luisa, who is going through a really hard time where she's always having to be the strong sister. She's always having to be more capable, and her having to deal with her mental health crisis that she's having throughout this movie is fantastic. Some of the other things with some of the other characters feeling like they have to serve a specific role in their family, when in reality they don't have to. They're being put in these little bubbles and they shouldn't be. And I think that it's just such a very powerful movie about family, the importance of family. And I think the fact that Mirabel, our main character, doesn't have any powers while we're surrounded by an entire family that does have powers is so remarkable. And I love the fact that she's just basically the glue that holds this family together. Absolutely love this movie. I think that the music for it is fantastic. And once again, it shows Disney knows what they're doing with the original movies, because a lot of people are like, oh, well, Disney, it's their next couple of years or whatever, all of their slates are a bunch of sequels and stuff like that because they can't write anything new. This was a couple years ago, guys, and it was fantastic. Alrighty, and on to 2022. We've got 5 movies here. The first one I want to talk about is a Disney Plus original movie that is just absolutely fantastic. And I think anytime you want to talk bad about Disney, you gotta bring up the fact that like they can get away with some crazy stuff. I'm talking about Chip and Dale, the Rescue Rangers. This movie looked like it was just gonna be a ridiculous little fun movie. Looked like it was gonna be a decent comedy. We got John Mulaney voicing one of these little, what are they? Are they chipmunks? Chip and Dale, what are they? Are they chipmunks? I think they're chipmunks. They're like the Alvin and the Chipmunks before the Alvin and the Chipmunks chipmunked. But overall, this movie is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. I think that of the last like 5 years, it's one of the greatest comedies. And the fact that it is able to do so much meta things, it brings in over 70 plus cameos from different things, from the ugly Sonic bit, which is absolutely hilarious. The fact that they go to the uncanny alley way or whatever, and then there's like the cats from the Cats movie. And the fact that they're able to just pull off so many funny bits, and the overall story with main characters being stolen from famous iconography and then becoming bootlegged versions of themselves is such a funny concept. And the fact that the main villain of this movie is Peter Pan all grown up is so funny, because there's been so many fan theories in the past where people are like, Peter Pan is actually technically the bad guy because he's taking these kids to Neverland where they can never grow up, and it's very depressing. And the fact that he was the villain was fantastic, and just overall this movie is just absolutely hilarious, and I really love it. But talking about Disney Plus originals, I believe this one was also a Disney Plus original. It's Disenchanted. I think that this movie is an incredible legacy sequel. It does a really good job of picking up 10 years after where the last movie took place, and showcasing the fact that Giselle is still struggling to be a normal human being, and she still really wants to live the fairy tale life. She's not doing a great job being a stepmother. She hasn't gotten a job, and she's just kind of like not the best significant other, and overall she's just trying to be as good of a stepmother as she can. And eventually she gets a point where she gets to make a wish, and she thinks that she's doing the right thing by wishing upon a star that this new world that they're currently living in, the real world, turns into a fairy tale, and she ultimately accidentally turns herself into the evil stepmother, because that's what happens in fairy tales. The stepmothers are evil. And that entire plot twist and that entire plot premise I thought was really cool. Personally, I'm not a big fan of a lot of the actors and actresses that are in this movie, so it was harder for me to connect with it, but that writing is just so well done. Like, where are you gonna go with the Enchanted movie? Oh, bringing the fantasy into the real world now, instead of having, just one fantasy character come into the real world. What if the entire real world became a fantasy? That was just a cool plot concept. I thought that was a really good pitch for a sequel. And speaking of sequels, and specifically legacy sequels, Hocus Pocus 2 came out in 2022, and oh my god, it was fantastic. I will be honest, never really got the hype around the original Hocus Pocus movie. My sister would make me watch it every Halloween, and it's like, it's an alright movie. I've never been that big of a fan, but Hocus Pocus 2 made me get it. The comedy in this movie is absolutely fantastic. All of the fun little witchcraft stuff is great. The young witches kind of figuring out how to use their powers and kind of, mess with the Sanderson sisters, absolutely fantastic. The bits with them using Roombas instead of brooms to fly is so funny. The entire sequence where they go to CVS and they're like eating moisturizer and stuff like that, it's just such a funny movie. I absolutely love Hocus Pocus 2. I think that they did such a good job with it. And now for an animated movie, I am going to get a lot of backlash for this, and I already see it coming. The movie Strange World is a really solid movie. I really like it, and in my opinion, I think it does what the movie Turning Red, Pixar movie, the hit Pixar movie that was Oscar nominated, that I am not a fan of, I think it was doing what that movie was trying to do, but did it better. It shows generational trauma in a very interesting way. It does a really good job showing the disconnect between family members with the son and a father and his father, and how sometimes when you're not raised right, you can accidentally lead your kid to not be raised right, and there can be a lot of disconnect between you and your child. And I think that it does such an interesting job showcasing like how in trying not to be his father, he's accidentally became his father. I think that Jake Gyllenhaal's character in this movie is absolutely fantastic, and overall the way that we have all of these different... Sorry, it cut me off, but basically all I was going to say is that the way that all of these characters kind of come together works really well, and I love the entire family dynamic that this movie has. Alrighty, and now we get into the year that gets a little difficult. We got 4 movies for 2023. The first one, we're going to start off with the live-action Peter Pan and Wendy movie. This movie, I will admit, was very disappointing. It was relatively lackluster, but the one thing that I do think they did a really good job with is the casting. I think that getting Jude Law to play Captain Hook was really good casting. I think that the actress who played Tinkerbell did a really good job, and the actress who played Wendy is exactly what you would want in a young Wendy. I think that overall the casting was fantastic. If only the rest of the movie could live up to that, it would have been fantastic. But now the next one to talk about the live-action Little Mermaid movie. This movie is absolutely fantastic. Once again, they add new music, which is fantastic. I absolutely love the song. I believe it's called Uncharted Waters that Prince Eric has. And I think that overall, the fact that they added so much to the love story between Ariel and Prince Eric makes me so happy. Because growing up, watching The Little Mermaid over and over and over again, Ariel pretty much falls in love with him because he's hot. Like, it's 100% because he's physically attractive and he's a pretty person to look at. And I like the fact that in this movie they did more of a good job of kind of setting up the fact that she likes him for his personality. He's an adventurer, he's a leader, he's somebody who treats everybody with kindness and compassion, and she likes him for who he is as opposed to just being hot. And then on top of that, I really like the way that they kind of use the fact that they're both adventurers to bring them together, because Ariel really wants to explore land and she really wants to explore what's beyond the oceans, whereas Prince Eric in this really wants to explore the seas, and he really wants to explore other places, other islands, and stuff like that. And the fact that they're both travelers and they fall in love works really well for me. And then I also want to say, as somebody who is very disappointed at the end of the Aladdin movie, because Jafar didn't turn into a gigantic snake, the fact that we got to see Ursula turn into the gigantic squid monster and, like, try to put, you know, King Triton's Triton through a giant ship, that was just an incredible final act. I love the entire last like 20-30 minutes of that movie. It's so good. This next one, I will admit, I might potentially be biased towards this movie. The Haunted Mansion live-action movie that came out last year is one of my favorite movies that came out last year. I think that it is absolutely hilarious. I think that the acting in it is fantastic. I think Lakeith Stanfield does such a great job showcasing like raw emotions in this, and it does a really good job of kind of like connecting to people who have potentially lost people and talking about how it's hard to grieve and it's hard to get over things when, you know, you're trying to move on and you just kind of can't help but think about the past. And it does such a good job of kind of bringing together a group of random people who wouldn't necessarily work together, but then making them work together. It's just a really funny movie, and overall I had a really good time with it. And now the last movie on this list that I'm going to talk about, it is incredibly hard to find good things to talk about, but the movie Wish. For one, I actually thought that the animation style was pretty interesting. I will admit, watching an entire full-length movie of it wasn't great. I feel like it would have been good if that was like the introduction was done with that animation style, and then it would close with that animation style, and it'd kind of be like a storybook opening and closing. But that being said, I thought that the animation looked all right. There's one specific song. I'm going to throw the name of it up on the screen because I will be honest, I don't remember the name of it right now. But that song is really good. The context of it is kind of weird if you think about it, so don't think about it too hard. And then overall, I think that the soundtrack itself is actually pretty solid. I think a lot of people aren't going to give it credit where credit's due because they heard that one song, Is This the Thanks I Get or whatever. But overall, I think that the soundtrack is pretty decent. And the casting for Chris Pine as a villain works well. I think that his voice acting in this is really well done. And overall, I think this movie is just really overhated. Like, it's not terrible. I think that the pacing is just a little off. And if they tweaked just like a couple minor things, this movie could have been as good as some of the past Disney movies. Okay, with that being said, that was it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bow, bow, bow. Back at it again, but that's a relevant flow, so smooth. They calling me Mr. Elegant, like an elephant. I got a long nose, like a president. I've got a few hoes, swift with a stutter. I'm smooth like butter. Don't see it coming when I slip undercover, like a big dog, but I don't bite. I'm still a big broad. I'd win that fight. Come match you and I knock out your lights.